just start. You just tell me who you are. Tell me some of your books. Tell me how you got into it.
Okay.
Give a quick introduction.
I'm what's left of Tom Perry. I write books about local history, mainly Patrick Henry County, a little Mount Airy and Surrey County. I was thinking coming down here, Mr. O.E. Pilson, who lived right down the street from us here in Ridgeway, mentored me when I was in my 20s. He was one of those people. He would, I'd come over here on Saturdays and I would get in his big blue Chevrolet and he'd take me all around and tell me all the history he knew. And he was really, really good to me. He did that for a lot of people, though. I think Mr. Pilson did. But he wrote most of what's in the history of Patrick County, the big gold book, and he did the cemetery books about Patrick County, which are your genealogy. Those things are just a godsend because not very many counties have books where every cemetery is listed. And Mr. Pilson crawled through every ditch and vine and everything to find those things. And the only thing wrong with him now is he did it before there were 911 names on all the roads, so it's the old road numbers.
Yeah.
But he took me around, showed me where all the Harston, not the Hairston, houses were. If you ever run into one who's white, they'll correct you if you say Hairston to them.
I've heard that.
Yeah, they will. I've had it done to me. But I was just thinking, Mr. Pilson really got me started. He was very good to me. He would take me around and share everything he knew about this local history, which a lot of people won't hoard it and stuff, but he did. He shared everything. So I've done a lot of books about Henry County. Used to about once a year I'd do a book to raise money for one of the Ruritan clubs, the Field Dale or the Stanley Town, or I've raised a lot of money for like the Bassett Historic Center with the books, and Rangeley, the Ruritan Club in Rangeley. And so I've done that. Don't do it really anymore, but for about every year I do a book where we'd raise money, a picture book usually, for one of the local Ruritan clubs or one of the civic clubs or the Bassett Historical Center. We also edited the Henry County Heritage book, which raised money for the Bassett Historical Center, which I think took 10 years off my life.
That's the one with the navy blue cover, right?
Navy blue cover.
Okay,
that thing
I
was
think I've got that one at home too.
It was like 3,000 pages.
Yeah, it's a big one.
8.5 by 11. It's 3 columns in the book, so it's not near as big that way. But it was that was 3,000 pages we had to go through. But that raised money for the Bassett Historic Center too. So that's some of the things. My most popular book probably is my book about Andy Griffith, Beyond Mayberry, which tourists buy every summer in Mount Airy, up and down Main Street there. That book still sells amazingly.
I bet it does.
I wrote it almost as a lark. I was recovering from cancer surgery, and I needed something to do, so I got all the material at the Mount Airy History Museum, big old stack, and I went through it, and that ended up being Beyond Mayberry, and ends up being the best-selling book I ever had. But I did that about 10, 12 years ago. Right now I got a new murder book coming out about Mount Airy. It's called Little Chicago, and it's before it was Mayberry, it was Murder City. You wouldn't believe
I didn't know that.
You wouldn't believe how many murders there were in and around Mount Airy. It never ceases to amaze me. But that's my newest book. We're bringing that out. We're having a book festival in July in Mount Airy to raise money for my scholarship that I do.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's July 19th at the Mount Airy History Museum. Not the Andy Griffith Museum, but the Mount Airy History Museum. And we're doing that July 19th, and we've got about 20 authors signed up for it. All kinds of things, everything from Civil War to fantasy to romance to Mayberry. So we've got all kinds of different things at that. But that's, like I said, I just got back from King's Grant. I've been up there talking about Jeb Stewart and Betty Harston to the older folks that live up there.
Tell me a little bit about the scholarship. I do remember hearing about it, but I don't know any details about it.
My father was teacher in Patrick County for 30 years, and he was principal at Blue Ridge and Red Bank. He was also a teacher at Blue Ridge when it was a high school, which is in Ararat, Virginia, where I grew up. So he and my mother passed away in 2021, almost within 2 months of each other. And I started a scholarship in their name and we give $500 every year to a Patrick County high school senior. And I make them write a 1,000-word history essay.
Okay.
They have to work for their money. And the one I like the best gets the scholarship. So I try to give it to a kid who's from the Dan River District, where I grew up, where my dad taught, because you know the kids in Stewart and stuff get the Rotary scholarships and all that. So I try to make sure I give it to one who's from over where my father was principal. And we give away about $4,000 now. We give away
That's
about
great.
$4,000. You got company. I actually worked in computers for 30 years. I did system administration, networking stuff for about 30 years. I started in textiles when they were still textiles around here, and I did a lot of computer work for about 30 years. History was something that I just loved as a sideline. My mother got me interested when I was an only child. So my mother got me interested in books and history when I was very young. I got books for Christmas. I didn't get toys. I got books. And she thought nothing about loading me up in the car and taking me to Monticello because I liked Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah,
She did things like that. And so she could go through books. I've never seen anybody could read like my mother could. She could go through a book a day, not even think about it. I mean, she read all kinds of stuff. I mean, she'd read Alex Cross books and serial killer stuff. But she got me books for Christmas, and it spurred my interest in all that, and that's how it got me, interested. But she was phenomenal. I guess I was the only child, so I was the center of the universe to her.
Yeah. And
so she was very good about that. But no, I worked computers for 30 years, and about 1988, 90, I started trying to save the Jeb Stuart birthplace over in Ararat, which was right down the road from where I grew up and where he was Civil War general. And we started in 1990, and we raised money. We've got 75 acres over there, and it's a private park, and it's interpreted and walking trails and all that kind of thing. But we started that to preserve part of our history over there, and it's got everything from the Dinky Railroad, which ran right by the property, to obviously Jeb Stuart, but we've got American Revolution on the property. His great-granddaddy got killed during the Revolution there.
Oh, okay.
We've got Slave Cemetery. We've got walking trails that go down along the Ararat River. So we've got about 75 acres there, and it's open, dawn to dusk to go out there. They do a Civil War encampment out there every October, but the rest of the time it's just a park, and you can go out there and picnic and walk, and it's right at the foot of the Blue Ridge. It's within 5 miles of Mount Airy, North Carolina, so you can Laurel Hill and Mayberry in the same time.
Sounds nice.
Yeah.
So, I've told you before how much I love the buildings in Ridgeway and trying to learn more about the history of the town of Ridgeway. And I know you said there's not a lot of pictures of the older pictures to be able to do anything like that. So if anybody has any old pictures of Ridgeway, we'd love to have them.
What's the ladies that live down the street here, Mary? They did a book about Ridgeway, I think, years ago.
Right, the Paces. Mary Pace McGee and then Ruth Pace.
And McGee, they did a book. But nothing since then. My problem is I could do a book on every community in Henry County if I've got enough pictures. But you got to have enough pictures. Martinsville, it's easy. Rangeley amazed me how many I got for Rangeley. Fielddale, we've done 2 books. So there are some communities that are just loaded with photographs. But I've spent a lot of time in the Bassett Historical Center, and we've done a lot of projects in and out of there. One thing I did, I just noticed the Vietnam War. There's been a lot about Vietnam lately. I went up to Washington and did the rubbings on the Vietnam Wall for all the men from Henry County and Martinsville who died in Vietnam, and those are all in shadow boxes up at the Bassett Historical Center.
Oh, nice.
So if you take a pencil and a piece of paper, you can get the name. You can rub the name off that. So I did that for Henry County and Martinsville and other places too. But there's a bunch of them in Henry County and Martinsville, and they're all up at Bassett. You can go up there and look at them.
Oh, that's good that that's there for people that can't get up there.
Well, I was too young for Vietnam, but I knew lots and lots of people who were in Vietnam, and guys I still know who were in Vietnam. So if you've ever been to the Wall in Washington, that's one of the most moving places I've ever seen.
It really is.
Yeah, because you see grown men just losing it because they found their buddy's name or something.
Yeah.
So we did that, and they've put up a memorial up there at the Bassett Historic Center, I think, about the men who died in Vietnam. I believe that's what it is. But I did my own little memorial by rubbing the names off the wall.
Yeah. Well, that's neat. That's neat. All right. Thank you for coming by to talk to me.
No, it's
I
my
appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Like I said, Mr. Pilson right down the road's got me started all those years ago. So every time I come to Ridgeway, I think about him.
Well, maybe we can get some more information from Ridgeway. So if anybody has any local history,
Yeah.
I mean, just family history, anything from the town.
Old
I don't
pictures.
know. Yeah, pictures. I don't know if there's any descendants of George Jones that owned the general store here. I don't know if any of those are still around. If they are, I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, but no,
That'd
be
be
great.
amazing. Yeah. All right. Well, looking forward to the
Thank
new
you.
book.
Thank
I always
you.
enjoy another murder book,
Yeah.
another true crime book.
Little Chicago.